Ever woken up the morning after a cheeky high street takeaway with a horrific, heavy lump sitting in your stomach like a lead brick? Or noticed that bizarre, sticky film coating the roof of your mouth after polishing off a couple of wings? You probably blamed yourself, thinking you just overindulged on grease. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. You've been hoodwinked by a massive corporate magic trick, and your stomach is paying the price. You walked into that local shop expecting a fresh, crispy dinner. What you actually walked out with was chicken drowned in an industrial sludge that's been working a hell of a lot longer shifts than you have. Here is what they don't print on those glossy digital menu boards. Across much of mainland Europe, restaurants face strict legal limits on frying oil degradation. The second it breaks down, they must dump it. In the UK, the guidelines are shockingly vague, leaving huge loopholes for major chains to reuse the exact same vat of oil for days on end with barely anyone checking. So, I decided to go digging past the flashy ad campaigns and deep into the corporate allergen sheets and ingredient disclosures buried on their UK websites. I audited the biggest names in the British fried chicken game, and what I found completely changed how I look at high street food. That satisfying crunch is nothing but a distraction. The real story is the fat in the fryer, the one thing nobody checks. Two pieces of chicken can look identical, yet be cooked in completely different worlds of fat. One is stable, the other has been reused until it's barely oil anymore. Before we start naming and shaming, here is exactly what you are getting into. By the end of this video, you'll find out which famous high street giant is feeding you completely different oil depending on your postcode. I'll show you why your favorite chicken spot is hiding a nasty industrial secret, and we'll break down the exact markers that separate quality from toxic grease. You are going to leave this video knowing more than 90% of shoppers, and you'll definitely want to hang on until the end, because the absolute most shocking offender isn't even a restaurant. It's a massive supermarket freezer staple sitting in millions of British kitchens right now, cooked twice in the cheapest, nastiest fat imaginable. But before we drop these household names into the fryer, we need to understand how frying works. Because the industry relies on you staying clueless. Think of frying oil exactly like engine oil. When fresh, it's golden, slick, and everything runs beautifully. But as you drive miles under intense heat, that oil breaks down, fills with nasty debris, and turns jet black. You wouldn't drive 10,000 miles without an oil change, yet British fast food chains are running their fryers like a battered Vauxhall Corsa that's never seen a mechanic. When chicken hits a fryer, moisture rushes out as steam, creating a crisp barrier. But over hours of continuous use, oxygen and water attack the oil, breaking the fat molecules apart into free fatty acids. Fresh oil stays stable and seals the food instantly. But once oil is tired and broken down, its structure collapses. Instead of crisping your chicken, the exhausted oil soaks straight into the breading, turning your dinner into a sponge for degraded chemicals. To make matters worse, corporations swapped out stable, traditional fats decades ago for highly refined seed oils like rapeseed, masking it as a health move when it was entirely a cost-cutting heist. These cheap vegetable oils are highly unstable under prolonged heat, meaning they degrade at double the speed. Every single piece of data I dug up points to one fact. The industry is saving pennies while your gut takes the punch. Let's start lifting the lid on the fryers you pass on every British high street, starting with the least shocking and working our way down to the absolute bottom of the barrel. First up on the chopping block is KFC. The bucket, the kernel, the 11 herbs and spices. For millions of Brits, this is the definitive taste of a Friday night treat or a motorway services lifesaver. But let's be entirely fair before we stick the boot in. Back in the day, KFC UK made a genuinely smart move by dropping partially hydrogenated fats ahead of government regulations to purge trans fats from their food. Credit where it's due. But peer into those massive commercial vats today, and you'll find a highly refined rapeseed oil blend. It's the same cheap, neutral vegetable fat that dominates half this list, chosen for one reason and one reason only. It's incredibly cheap at scale. According to food data logs, this blend isn't even uniform. It shifts based on regional suppliers and supply chain costs. That means the legendary secret recipe you trust isn't even cooked in the same fat, depending on whether you're in Manchester or Bristol. We buy it out of pure nostalgia and habit, entirely blind to the fact that the fat in the fryer is pure budget commodity stuff. KFC runs on heritage, not high-quality fat. And if the most trusted icon in the country gets away with ordinary sludge because nobody thinks to ask, wait until you see the brands that built their entire reputation on being premium, fresh, and rustic, yet drop their food into the exact same cheap industrial blend. That brings us directly to Leon. They pitched themselves as the naturally fast food alternative, capturing the middle-class high street with promises of clean, wholesome Mediterranean-inspired eating. You walk in, see the bright colors and the health-conscious packaging, and automatically assume the kitchen is pristine and the cooking fats are superior. That assumption is a massive trap. Check their UK allergen and ingredient disclosures, and you will find their famous baked and fried items rely heavily on refined rapeseed oil. It is ordinary, cheap frying fat wrapped in a beautifully curated story about wellness. While they talk a big game about sourcing and sustainability, the oil story stops right where the fryer starts. The marketing sells you a premium lifestyle, but the fat is pure cost-cutting budget management. If you already feel like running to your own kitchen cupboards to check what you've been eating, hit that subscribe button right now. Because the deeper we go into this high street investigation, the harsher the reality gets. Next up is Wingstop, which has exploded across major UK cities recently. It is all about the hype, the music, the massive variety of intense glaze flavors, and that high-energy game day atmosphere. It's undeniably brilliant marketing, but our audit doesn't care about the branding. It cares about the VAT. Wingstop UK fries its wings in refined rapeseed and vegetable oil, and the real crime here is the sheer brutal volume. Independent restaurant inspectors, like the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, frequently highlight that high-volume chicken shops run their vats continuously through relentless cycles. As the oil cooks hour after hour under heavy loads of chicken fat and breading debris, it degrades rapidly. It becomes thicker, darker, and filled with polar compounds. Tired oil loses its ability to crisp the meat instantly, meaning it stops acting as a thermal barrier and starts soaking straight into the food. A home cook fries once and discards the oil, but a relentless commercial wing joint keeps that same vat going all day long. The problem isn't just the ordinary nature of the fat, it's the systematic reuse that turns your dinner into a sponge for broken down lipids. But why do all these completely different high street chains land on the exact same cheap, refined vegetable oils? It's not an accident. It is one of the quietest heists in modern British food history. Go back 60 years, and traditional British frying relied on highly stable, solid fats like beef dripping or lard. It's why traditional chip shops smelled the way they did, and why grandparents swear food used to taste better. Then the industry pulled off a massive corporate swap. Refined seed and vegetable oils are astronomically cheaper to produce and transport at industrial scale. When you are frying millions of portions a week across the UK, saving a few pence per liter adds up to millions of pounds of pure profit by the end of the quarter. So the corporate accountants did the math. Animal fats were expensive. Seed oil was dirt cheap. But cheap oil had a massive PR problem. To fix it, the industry capitalized on the mid-century panic surrounding saturated fats, launching aggressive marketing campaigns that demonized traditional fats while slapping a literal health halo onto cheap, highly processed vegetable oils. The chains saved a fortune doing exactly what they wanted to do anyway, while teaching the public never to look into the fryer. Now we leave the high street entirely and step into the deep freeze of the British supermarket aisle, where the cost-cutting goes to an absolute extreme. These are products cooked twice in the cheapest fat on the shelf before they ever touch your mouth. Take Bird's Eye Chicken Dippers, a definitive household staple across the UK. It's fast, familiar, and the ultimate reliable sanity saver for exhausted parents at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. I understand the convenience completely. But look at the back of the box. This chicken is par-fried at the factory in cheap refined vegetable oil, frozen, packed, transported across the country, and then baked or fried a second time by you at home. The entire product is engineered strictly around shelf life and maximum corporate margin. Convenience is the real product you are buying. The quality of the cooking fat is a complete afterthought, and the absolute #1 worst offender on this entire list is Asda's Just Essentials frozen chicken nuggets. When inflation is rampant and budgets are stretched to breaking point, finding cheap food to feed a family fast is a completely valid necessity, and I will never judge anyone for doing what they have to do. But from a purely structural standpoint, this product is every single issue in this video packed into a single green bag. It uses the lowest, most budget-grade refined vegetable oil the global supply chain can legally provide, because the sole purpose of a value tier is to hit the absolute lowest possible price floor. The cooking fat is the very first place the manufacturer cuts costs. Par-fried at an industrial processing facility, frozen, and then subjected to a second cook in your kitchen oven, it represents rock bottom on every single stability and quality metric we care about. If there is one item to leave behind in the frozen aisle, make it this one. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the greasy corporate loopholes, the overused industrial sludge, and the frozen aisle disasters. So let's talk about the absolute champions. The places and brands that actually put quality fat in the fryer, don't hide their methods behind marketing smokescreens, and prove that you can get an incredible, crispy crunch without sacrificing your gut health. These are the top-tier choices readily available right here in the UK that have genuinely earned their spots through radical transparency, chemical stability, and sheer culinary integrity. First up on our recommended list is Five Guys. Now, let's be completely upfront. They are famous for their custom burgers, not massive buckets of fried chicken pieces. But they earn a proud place in this investigation because they set the absolute gold standard that every high street chicken chain in the UK should be chasing. Five Guys fries exclusively in 100% pure peanut oil, also known as groundnut oil, and they do not whisper this fact or bury it in fine print on page 20 of a hidden PDF document. They stack the literal massive cardboard boxes of their crude peanut oil right out in the dining room for everyone to see and plaster it across their menus. From a chemical perspective, pure peanut oil is a complete game-changer compared to the cheap rapeseed and soy blends used by the failing brands. It possesses a remarkably high smoke point and a robust molecular structure that resists oxidation under intense commercial heat. Because the fat doesn't break down into hostile free fatty acids over the course of a busy shift, the food comes out beautifully crisp, clean, and golden rather than heavy, greasy, and exhausted. They prove that total transparency combined with a highly stable fat is entirely possible at scale on the British high street if you are looking for that classic, heavy-hitting fried chicken shop experience but want an option that quietly does things the traditional way. Our next pick is Popeyes UK. After dominating the US, they launched a massive expansion across British high streets, and while most people would automatically bet good money that another global fast food giant would fail this audit, Popeyes pulls off a brilliant structural plot twist. According to their official UK allergen and ingredient disclosures, Popeyes fries their signature Shatter Crunch chicken using a blend that incorporates traditional beef tallow, also known as beef dripping. This is the exact traditional, stable animal fat that the rest of the commercial food industries ditched decades ago to save a few pennies. Beef tallow is famously rock solid under high temperatures. Because it consists of highly stable saturated and monounsaturated fats, it holds its elemental structure beautifully, resisting the chemical breakdown that plagues cheap vegetable seed oils. Instead of seeping deeply into the breading and turning it into a soggy sponge, it seals the outside of the chicken instantly. This is the exact scientific reason why their chicken possesses that incredibly distinct, brittle crust that plain vegetable oil simply cannot fake. We do have to keep it completely honest, though. Ingredient formulations can occasionally shift based on localized supply chains or corporate updates, so it is always wise to double-check their current in-store sheets. But as it stands, they are one of the very few high street giants willing to utilize a traditional fat that delivers genuine structural stability. Now, what if you want premium, high-quality fried chicken that you can cook at home without subjecting yourself to the double-cooked industrial nightmare of the standard freezer aisle? For the absolute top-tier home option, you look to M&S, our best ever slow-cooked chicken. Marks & Spencer approaches production with a completely different philosophy than the budget freezer brands. This isn't low-grade, mechanically reclaimed meat par-fried in industrial factory sludge to keep it shelf-stable for a year. It is premium, British-sourced chicken that is slow-cooked to keep it incredibly tender and then paired with a remarkably clean breading coating. When you take this home and crisp it up in your own oven or air fryer, you are performing the primary and only frying stage in a controlled environment. You get to control the heat, you aren't baking in stale factory oils from 3 months ago, and the ingredient list reads like actual food rather than a corporate chemistry experiment. Independent consumer taste panels consistently rate it as close to a restaurant quality finish as you can possibly get from a supermarket box. Yes, it is undeniably more expensive than the budget options, and it won't fit every single daily grocery budget. But the price difference reflects a genuine investment in real meat and zero pre-fried chemical degradation. It is the perfect weekend treat for anyone who values exactly what goes into their body. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this high street investigation, memorize these 5 practical golden rules. They will fundamentally change how you buy and order food starting this weekend. First, stop judging fried chicken entirely by its crunch, its spice blend, or the massive neon brand logo on the front of the shop. A famous household name simply indicates a multi-million-pound corporate marketing budget. It tells you absolutely nothing about the actual condition of the fryer vat. Second, actively favor stable fats like beef dripping or pure groundnut oil over cheap, highly unstable rapeseed and vegetable oil blends, especially at high-volume, high-street takeaways where the oil is left running hard all day long. Third, when browsing the supermarket aisles at Tesco or Sainsbury's, always choose fresh-to-cook pieces over pre-packaged frozen options. The exact second a piece of chicken is par-fried at a factory and frozen, it has officially been cooked twice in the absolute cheapest, lowest-grade oil the global supply chain allows. Fourth, reward the brands that treat you with respect. A plain, straightforward declaration of their frying oil on their website or in-store counter is a massive green flag. If you have to dig through 20 pages of corporate legalese just to find out what fat they use, ask yourself what they are desperately trying to hide. Fifth, run the 2 simple home tests on your own favorite local takeaway spot before you give them your blind trust. The kitchen paper towel test and the overnight fridge test cost absolutely nothing to execute, yet they completely dismantle every glossy commercial ever made to sum everything up. The modern fast food industry is structured entirely around shifting your attention away from structural ingredients and onto superficial, sensory distractions like massive flavor glazes, extreme spicy heat, and comforting childhood nostalgia. They want you to focus heavily on the sauce, so you remain completely blind to the low-grade, overused oil working overtime in the dark. But the moment you make a single shift in your daily thinking, the moment you start assessing the quality and stability of the cooking fat instead of just the crunch, you stop being a passive victim of corporate marketing and take total control over your health and your wallet now. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments section. Which of these revelations hit you the hardest? Was it finding out that a massive high street giant like KFC is serving you completely different oil based entirely on your postcode? Or was it the realization that Popeyes is quietly using traditional beef tallow to get that spectacular shatter crisp crust? Which major brand or supermarket staple should I put under our investigative microscope next? Drop your suggestions below and I will add them straight to the upcoming audit list. If you want more transparent, fact-driven reviews built entirely on what is genuinely hidden inside your food, real fats, real ingredients, and genuine value instead of corporate PR and recycled fear, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications right now. I read every single comment, and your direct requests decide exactly what we audit next. Cheers for watching, look after your gut, and I will see you in the very next video. Keep it real.